So welcome so much to your pre-field orientation. My name is Dr. Yanni Robinson. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Assistant Director of Field Education for the online program, but I'm also a field faculty. So I am assigned to several students as their field faculty and will be working to guide you through your field education process. The purpose of today is to give everybody a brief overview of what to expect during their placement process. I'm sorry, not their placement, their field education process. And it's just to give you an overview to ensure that you have all the information that is required to pass field education. This is very important. You cannot get this degree without successfully completing field. So we've gone the extra mile to try to give you a lot of information at your fingertips so that you know everything to get a satisfactory grade. If there are certain things that are happening, like missed deadlines and different things like that, it could result in a marginal grade, and you won't be eligible to get your degree with a marginal grade without correcting that. So this is why we really want to take this time to focus in on helping you to understand the requirements. And please know that this is just the beginning. So if there's ever any questions, we are here to support you. We're happy to support you. So like Kevin mentioned a moment ago, reach out and call our office or email me or your assigned field faculty if you switch from me, and then we will be happy to help you. So today we've already did our introductions of our students, but I'm going to introduce myself. And I also would like to introduce our field team just so you can know who everyone is. Then we're also going to be talking about the roles of field education, our technical standards. I will touch on the 9 competencies that you'll be focusing on in your field throughout your entire time being a field student. And then the assignments, the hours and credits, and then getting ready for field. So you may have some uncertainty still remaining about your field education. Hopefully this will answer those questions, and then we're here to continue that with you. So this is our field team. Our leadership is on this slide. It's Erin Kong, our Director of Field Education in general. And then you have Christina Dadswell, who is the director. She's the Assistant Director of Field Education for the on-campus program. And I'm Dr. Yanni Robinson, and I'm the Assistant Director of Field Education for the online program. We have lots of other people on our team, starting with our administrative team, as well as our placing coordinator, Sarah, Chi, and Claire. Many of you may have worked with Claire, and she is our placing coordinator. She works a lot with out-of-state students. And then we have numerous field faculty that you might encounter throughout your time at our field in our field program. Any one of these individuals might be helping you. If you contact our office, most of the things we do as a team anyway. And so please know that we're all available to support you. So I want to start with allowing you to get to know me a little more. So this slide has lots of different things that embody who I am. So I'm Dr. Yanni Robinson. I have bienvenidos, saying welcome to you in Spanish, because one of my passions for the last year has been learning Spanish and gaining Spanish fluency. I've been playing around with Spanish for over 20 years, but I said this year I'm going to really learn it. And I've been really working to immerse myself in Spanish learning. So other things about me, I've been working in the community since 1997. It was my first job working at the Boys and Girls Club. And I've been working across nonprofits and throughout academia ever since, from schools. I've also worked with pregnant incarcerated women in hospitals and courts. And I've also been a part of lots of community mental health presentations. And through my nonprofits. I've worked in, I'm sorry, in schools in the Detroit area and Ann Arbor, and as well as Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where I currently live. I started teaching at Western Michigan University in 2004 through to 2007, and I've been at the University of Michigan for over 10 years now. One of the things on this slide is lifestyle medicine. This is my most recent passion. I became certified in lifestyle medicine, which focuses on six pillars um, to heal and prevent disease and illness in the body and in the mind. And this is what I dedicate my life to doing with my own self and my community and my family, but also with everything I do in my career as well. I also have a couple other things on this slide, particularly these vegetables, and this is also a piece of watermelon in my hand at the top. I just started gardening again in 2025. So this is going to be something else that I'm going to focus on in 2026 to learn how to grow my own food and herbs and medicine. Now, let's jump into field education. So we'll start with what is field education. I am going to go through many slides here to give you some background information, but please note that these slides will be available as well as this recording will be available for all students after this presentation. So if there's anything you miss, please feel free to download these slides and the recording in order to learn more. I will be doing an overview of the slides just in the interest of time, but I do want to make sure that you know where to find the details of this as well as giving us a call. So field education is the real world experience of MSW. You can go to school and get all A's in your classes and still graduate and be a lousy social worker. This is why we want you to actually practice what you're learning in class. You can't learn how to be a social worker just studying and reading. You have to get out there to practice and build the skills. And that is what field education do for you. We want you to be able to practice those things so that when you go out into the field, it's beyond getting A's in classes. You now have the skills to be an excellent social worker when you get in the community, and field education gives you a chance to practice and build those skills. It is a course, either Social Work 515 or Social Work 691, and you will register for this course each term. It is going to be listed under the independent section of the registration portal. So this is how you'll register, and then you would choose your field faculty based on your registration. If you have any questions about that, please give us an email or a call, or and we'll be happy to help you out. Field education is not intended to be your first career experience. This is something that is really important because sometimes students feel like, oh, I'm in the field placement, but it's not really what I want to do with my life, or I don't have any particular interest in that. That's not unusual, and it's actually really good for you. It helps to broaden your experience, and you have a 40-year career to continue to grow and expand. The purpose of field is to give you that practice experience and help you to integrate your coursework learning and the foundational skills that you're learning from the classroom into competency development in a actual real world setting. So this is why it's not really designed to be your first career experience. So please do not worry if you're doing something that you may not want to do in your career at this time. There's something else I want to say about that. It'll come back to me. I also want to share with you your field education team. The student is you at the center of this experience, and then you have your field faculty. Sometimes it's confusing the field faculty from the field instructor, which is the person that's in the community with you at the agency site. the best way to kind of remember that is to use the word faculty is usually associated with university. So your field faculty is the person that at the university. So that would be me or another one of our faculty members that I showed you on the previous slides. Whereas your instructor is the field instructor who's out in the community every day helping you to integrate your social work competencies at the actual field site. And then some of you may have a task supervisor or a secondary field instructor who may or may not be a social worker. So if a student is placed at a law office, for example, they may have a primary field instructor who's a social worker, and then a secondary or task supervisor who's a lawyer. And with the combination of that supervision, they'll learn the skills and how to engage in social work in a law setting. Communication is essential, frequent and timely communication. This is essential with your field faculty, but also at your field site. So, friends, let me give you this free tip. Canvas is your friend for all of your classes. In my experience with teaching, the students who struggle the most are the students who do not engage in Canvas. If we look at the analytics behind a student's engagement in Canvas, without fail, the ones who are not engaged, who are not logging on or using Canvas, those are the ones who have the worst performance in their MSW education. Those with high engagement with their Canvas, they are more in tune with what's going on. They're less confused. They meet deadlines because they know it. Everything is there. So just a general tip with all of your MSW education, use Canvas, review the assignments, keep track of announcements, because this is how you'll know and understand how to get an A in all of your classes, and how to develop as well. There are rubrics there, there are expectations. It's all there in Canvas. So please use your Canvas site. If you have not been using Canvas frequently, please start this because it will really, really help make things easier for you as a student. So it also provides you instructions with how to get the assignments done in Field. Field is very unique. It's not just submitting a paper in Canvas. There are lots of moving parts to help you get prepared as a actual social worker on the ground. So you might be doing setting up meetings with your field instructors and your field faculty. You'll also be uploading assignments. There are multiple things that are due. So please do take a look at that. We won't get to see you also in field. So it's important that this be our primary means of communication. So it's one thing if you're seeing us every week and you have a question about an assignment, you can ask us after class. But being that we're not seeing you, you're at your field site every week. So it's important to be in Canvas so you can know those expectations. And then technical standards. There's a link to your technical standards here in this slide, but we want to remind you that all students have agreed to fulfill and meet the technical standards upon entering this program. The technical standards is not something you will learn in the program. This is the minimum requirement for engagement at an MSW level. So it is an assignment that we have integrated into our field education grading. It is worth 21 points of your grade, and it requires effective communication and uh, intellectual and cognitive skills, as well as emotional and behavioral readiness. This is, you will find this, a brief description of what communication mean here and what intellectual and cognitive skills mean here and what the emotional and behavioral readiness means here. But the full document is listed in the link that I previously showed you. And it also is what you signed already. You have seen this. All students are required to do this. It is important. I like to really emphasize the technical standards because all students are held to the technical standards, and most students who are referred to academic concerns with the potential of being removed from this program it's due to a violation of the technical standards. So please make sure that you review this and that you're meeting this and you're using respectful communication, that you are um, planning and meeting deadlines and using the resources and tools such as our Canvas site, like I've been mentioning before. Social Work 515 is foundational field and Social Work 691 is advanced field. They are courses and they will therefore be a graded course and on your transcript. And field education is 25% of your grade. Again, you can't graduate from our program without successfully completing field. So Canvas is the place where you can track everything. And so be sure to mind your grades in our Canvas site. We also require Zoom. Lots of things will happen on Zoom, especially with the online program and online students where many of our engagement, much of our engagement will be through Zoom, such as our site visits, our field connections, one-on-one meetings with your field faculty as needed. All of these things will happen over Zoom. So it's really important to have Zoom and also have the minimum requirements to run it successfully at your home with appropriate speeds of Wi-Fi and whatnot. Google Calendar is another big one. Field faculty use Google Calendar to invite you to Zoom meetings, to invite you to your site visits. So please use your Google Calendar so that we can be sure to um, have good communication with those meetings because that is where we'll communicate it with you. Most of our students have Google Calendar alerts so that you get notifications and won't miss meetings. You can modify those notifications. The default is 10 minutes before a meeting, but you can do a day before. Like if you have a meeting that's scheduled far out, you can do like, oh, a week reminder and then a day reminder and then a 10-minute reminder to add additional notifications. We can also add scheduling. Sometimes if you need to meet with your field faculty, you could use our booking links to do that. Now I would like to talk to you about our CSWE social work competencies. So your educational agreement is centered around these 9 competencies. In order to become a social worker, you must demonstrate competencies in these 9 areas. And this is what will make you a social worker. And so I've listed the areas here so that you all can review these and know what they are about. These competencies are aligned with all of your pathways. So please note that these might differ between students. So one student might be doing at your agency might be doing one thing and yours might look a little bit differently because different students might have different pathways and the focus of different all students they just things are different. Never compare yourself to another student. We've had students get in some big trouble because they're like, oh, we need to do 228 hours because my peer, my fellow student is doing 228 hours. But that student didn't realize that they were registered for more credits and they had a different requirement, and then they didn't meet that minimum requirement. So please, if you have questions about requirements, contact your field agency, I'm sorry, your field faculty, so that you can be sure to um, get the correct information because things vary among students. All right, so let's talk about our requirements for Social Work 515 and 691. This is a brief overview of what's going to be expected of you this term in order to earn a satisfactory grade in field. In addition to submitting these things on time, so it's important to put those deadlines in your Google Calendar and give yourself some buffer time because these due dates are oftentimes from the due dates from your field instructor, not from you. So you need to give your field instructor time to sit down and review what's due and submit it to us so that we can get it in on time. if this doesn't happen, it really could have serious consequences. For example, if you're set to graduate and we do not get your field ratings on time, and then your field instructor is unavailable, your degree would not be conferred until the following semester. So that means if you graduate in December, you will not get your degree conferred until May, the May graduation. And that matters because a lot of people need their degrees to start their jobs, especially at MSW level jobs. So it's very, very important to give yourself time and preparation for both you and your field instructor. So the first few things we will have to do is the placement verification form. This is open today and it's going to be due this month. So please check that out. It's a very quick lift for your field instructor. It's just confirming you are at the placement where we think you are, and the people we think are supervising you are actually supervising you. Next will be your field connections. This will be a sign up and attending it. This is worth 14 points. Site visit scheduling and attendance is also required. It is worth 24 points. And then your educational agreement assignment selection would be the next thing that is due for you. After your assignment selections, you will be required to complete a competency practice reflection, then your final educational agreement, and then meeting those technical standards that I just mentioned. Again, with your placement verification form, this is a form that you will fill out. It is going to be due, I think it's due January
I
20th.
think I saw the 14th,
The
I think
14th.
is
Thank you. I just
14th.
had it in my head. Thank you so much. So it's due
You're welcome.
January 14th. And it's a one pager. You just fill this out. Your field instructor, at least one of them, not both of them, will need to sign it to confirm that. And then once we have received that in our office, it'll take about a week for us to process that. And then we will unlock your educational agreement so that you can start filling that out. In order to get credit for this, you will need to upload a screenshot of your placement verification confirmation email. These instructions are in assignment number 1, so please check that out and then be sure to submit that. Students who do not submit this, they will have their field hours temporarily suspended, so you will not be able to accrue any field hours. This is important because the 16 hours or the 24 hours a week that we have scheduled, it's really set out for you to get those hours each week. So that might put you behind on your hours, which means that there could be a delay in getting that, or you might have to double up on your hours in order to get those hours counted. So please get that in on time because I do not want any students to have any suspensions of their hours. Next will be the Field Connections sign up and attendance. So there will be instructions in the Canvas site on how to sign up for those. And you sign up and you can choose the topics and the dates according to what fits your schedule. Site visits, there are instructions again in Canvas for how to schedule your site visit. And of course, you would need to actually attend the site visit as well. You cannot pass field education if you miss it. You will fail the entire term. That means 342 hours or 228 hours of your hard earned time will be wasted and you'd have to redo that. This is a big miss. So please be sure to schedule your site visit. Your field faculty will not necessarily be looking to see who missed their site visit. We will know at the end of the term, and at that time it will be too late. So please, again, use your Google Calendar, jot this down, set a reminder, and schedule it early so that you can be sure to meet this requirement. At the site visit, for me, I run my site visits kind of like a mock interview to get you some practice experience getting ready for job interviews. So mine are kind of rigorous in that I'm challenging you to talk about what you're doing and what you're learning in field. One of the reasons I do this is because prior to coming into this role and in this role, I've had to interview individuals looking for social work jobs, and people interview pretty terribly, even really, really great candidates. They have a difficult time talking about the skills and the assets that they have to offer my agency or for that are aligned with the job. So I just made it my business to help my students to be rock solid when it comes to their interviews, and I use site visits in order to do that. So please take a note of that. If you hear from me and you hear some critical feedback, it's not at all because I think you are doing a terrible job. It's what I'm doing to help develop you. And it's this way across the board with your field faculty. If you were to switch to a different person, we're all looking at how to bring out the best skills that you have so that you are the most competitive social worker in the land, basically. And so we will definitely be touching on the integration of your coursework and the competencies into your practice. We will touch on the privilege, oppression, diversity, and social justice in your practice in the community. And we also want to get feedback from you and your field instructor on how field education is going for you. And then your educational agreement, this is a part of your permanent record. Give this some attention. Make sure that this is not just a perfunctory assignment you slap into Chat GPT and just put something generic in here, because in 50 years, this is going to still be here with your transcript. So please put some love into it. If anyone ever challenges your degree, this is the evidence that you're competent. We can defend your degree based on your educational agreement. We can defend that you are competent in the 9 areas ascribed by the CSWE, Council on Social Work Education, based on what you put in this educational agreement. So this is a serious matter. Please give it some love and attention. Don't wait to the last minute. Make sure it's quality work because it's going to reflect you long after you leave the program. You will be completing an educational agreement every term, and you will be focused on the 9 competencies based on your pathway. When all of the competencies have had your assignment selections, you will then start adding justifications or practice reflections. And this is basically saying what you're actually doing in the field in order to develop skills in this area. These are going to be concrete and measurable. It's not at all hypothetical or conceptual. So it's not like ethical practice is important, is an important part of social work. And this is something that I pride and I work hard to do in my field placement. No, no, because you didn't tell me anything. I want to know, I took a training on ethics and technology to help me understand how to best approach my telehealth clients. Like it needs to be very, very practical, very much centered on what you have done, not at all conceptual. Okay. So please give this some attention, and we have very clear format for this in Canvas. Your educational agreement will be sent back to you for revision if you do not follow the guidelines that is in the Canvas assignment. So please, please, please look at the Canvas assignment, look at the practice reflection guide. If you follow this, you're golden. It is spelled out for you to make it easy for hundreds of students to be able to succeed at this. So all the details are there. In assignment number 7, you will do a practice reflection. And so you would choose one competency and you will practice it, and is listed as a quiz. This will be completed using the what, so what, now what format that is listed in that practice guideline, the practice reflection guidelines. It would need to be 300 to 400 words. Each competency would need to be 300 to 400 words. And that does not include the list of the list of skills used under each competencies and how you use those skills. Again, there are examples in the practice reflection guidelines. And if you just model your paper after those examples, you're going to be great. We will give you feedback at the end of each term, and also we may give you feedback under each competency. So please be sure to integrate those things. I also like to review your educational agreement during site visits and also help you. You might be struggling with what am I going to do with the policy comp? What do I do with the research comp? And I love coming up with creative competencies, and I do this like all the time. I've done thousands of them. So please use me as a resource if you're stuck. If your field instructor is stuck and do not know how to support you, this is what we're here for. So do not hesitate. We're not trying to trick you up, you know? If you're like, gosh, I don't know what to do for policy, call us, email us, and we're happy to help you. We're not like, oh, you don't know what to do, we're going to fail you, you know? We want to help you to develop, and we want to give you some ideas. Or you might have an idea like, I think I'm doing this right, and you want to send us a quick email. Hey, can you take a look at this and tell me if I'm on track, or if you have any other suggestions? We're happy to support you in that way. So once you have completed your remaining 8 practice reflections, at the end of the term, you will finalize those, and your field instructors will rate you. You will also rate yourself, and you will be able to submit that for approval, for review and approval and grading from us. Just remember what I was going to say earlier. I wanted to tell you that your field instructors will offer guidance and feedback, and they will rate your performance. However, we, your field faculty, are the ones that give you your grade. That is by design because we never want a student to be afraid to give feedback at their field site, nor share what's going on at their field site if something is not quite right, or have any type of fear of retaliation from a field instructor, thinking that their degree is at risk or their grade is at risk. We give you your grade because we want you to feel comfortable communicating and learning and growing without the threat of any type of retaliation or anything like that. So what that means is, if there's some feedback, some critical feedback, it's not going to always be easy at your field site. You may have to share with your field instructor some ways of helping you to like bring out the best in you, helping to communicate assignments and many different challenges that happen in field. We want you to address those challenges, not leave like, oh, I need a new field site because I'm having a challenge. That is by no means the expectation, because we're trying to get you ready for the field of social work. And in the field of social work, it's going to be full of challenges throughout the rest of your career. You're going to have challenges with your supervisors, with your colleagues, as well as with the communities that you serve. This is the time to start practicing building those skills, because there's no way to build a skill without the practice. So we want you to feel comfortable practicing those skills without the fear of retaliation, and use us as a resource. Once again, if you need to have a difficult conversation, run it by us and we can coach you, we can support you, and we can share our experiences with you as well. Some of you are placed in employment-based placements. Please remember that our focus is on your development as a social worker, and we want you to make sure that your practice is aligned with the NASW Social Work Code of Ethics and our technical standards. And we want you to be able to demonstrate these competencies from a social work lens, not just what you do on a day-to-day basis in your job, but where are you using the competencies? Even if nothing changes but your perspective, we want you to understand, how are you using a social work lens to engage in the work that you're doing? So we also want to share a friendly reminder to ensure that you are focusing the required field hours on your social work education, not necessarily the other aspects of your job. So you might be doing a wide range of things in your job, but let's focus those field hours on that competency development. And then you want to think about how to integrate your coursework into your employment-based placement. This bumps the rigor from a bachelor level um, or a no degree level job to a master level field placement. So it's important to think about how to integrate those master level learning, the feedback that you're getting in your classes from your field faculty during site visits, and all of these things to bump rigor over time. So your first term, it might be lots of shadowing, lots of figuring things out, but the next term should be a little more rigorous. And then the next term and then the final term should be the most rigorous. This should be reflected in your educational agreement as well, where we can see a progression of learning, where you go from a beginning learner to more of a competent social worker and even into the areas of mastery by the end of your 3 to 4 terms in field. Now we have a due dates calendar that is listed in the Canvas site. Again, you hear me talk about Canvas over and over again. Everything is there. So there are due dates in the Canvas site. So here is a quick overview of the due dates that are upcoming. Today, field education begins. Yay. And then placement verification form is due January 14th. Field connection signups are by January 20th for many individuals. But because my field connections start a little bit earlier, my field connections sign up is going to be due by January 13th. I did keep the wide date here for everyone, being that this is going to be a recording that others might use. So the January 20th date is there, but for anybody who I am the assigned field faculty for, please note that you must sign up for field connections by January 13th, a week earlier. And then scheduling your site visit is due by January 30th. Your assignment selections for your educational agreement will be February 6th. What that means is you'll need to select 9 assignments that you want to focus on that term. It doesn't mean you will submit anything, and it doesn't mean you need to fill out all of the 9 competencies. You're just selecting, these are the 9 things I'm going to focus on. It requires that you select a checkbox for the 9, for one assignment in the 9 competencies. These can change. So at the beginning of the term, you might sit down with your field instructor and say, hey, I think I want to focus on assignment number 2 under competency number 3. And then halfway through, some grant didn't go through, and you need to pivot and choose a different assignment. That's okay. You would just need to select another assignment, and then you can complete your practice reflections and your field activities based on the new assignment. The practice reflection is going to be due February 23rd, and then your final educational agreement will be due for the student on April 6th. Some academic holidays to keep in mind this term. Spring break is going to be March 2nd through March 6th. And classes end on April 26th and field ends on April 24th. It's important to share these with your field instructor early on in supervision. Please don't wait until a day before you're not going to be in field to say, oh, I'm not going to be here ever, in general. But we don't expect students to be in field education for these for holidays and breaks and things like that. Some students do choose to catch up on hours, or they might be flexing hours, like they might choose to work during spring break because they have a wedding or they have to travel for a family event on another week. So they might swap. These things need to be discussed with your field instructor ahead of time. And I encourage you to do it early in the term in your first supervision. For example, if you have field on Monday, January 20th, this is MLK Day. You want to communicate in advance if you plan to miss on that day to engage in MLK Day activities, and communicate that with your field instructor. You will be responsible for making up for those hours. I will note your total required hours will remain the same. So if you, for example, say you're not going to go to field on MLK Day, you'll need to make up that day another day that week, or another day the following week. Now, field registration can be a little bit tricky. So I wanted to share this slide with you because this is one of those moments where your colleagues, your peers and colleagues might be registered for something different from you, which means that their hours are different from yours. So 2 credits of 515 will be equal to 228 hours. 4 credits of social work 691 is 224 hours. 5 credits of 691 is 280, and 6 credits of 691 is 336. So it's important to know what you registered for and to be sure that you register for what's listed in your course planning sheet. So you all have a course planning sheet that your academic advisor gave you, and that's how you usually register, unless you've completed an out of sequence petition and there's a change. And then you register for that, and then this is how you confirm the total number of hours. So if you're registered for 6 credits, you would choose to do field basically 3 days a week around 336. Or if you're registered for 2 credits of field or 4 credits of 691, you'll be doing roughly 2 days per week. You are going to be responsible for maintaining your field hours in a log that is shared with your field instructor. I highly recommend that students create some type of shared Google document and maintain it every week at your field site. And this is super important because no one starts anything feeling like they're going to encounter challenges. And and so, most of you probably won't have any challenges with your hours. But if a challenge comes up, for example, if you have been working 2 days if you've been in field 2 days per week, and then at the end of the term, your field instructor say, I don't think these hours are accurate. If you don't have anything to illustrate this, that field instructor can easily just say no, and then you won't get the credit. You won't get the credit because there's nothing we have to back you up. But if you have an hours log and you've been sharing this hours log during supervision, which I recommend, then if something comes up at the end of a term and the field instructor say, I don't really think that you've completed all these hours, we can then stand on, hey, but the student has been sharing their hours log with you and their hours and activities and tasks with you throughout the term during supervision, and you have not shared this concern. So now we can back you up and still pass you. So it will make a huge difference, like whether you're redoing 6 credits of field or not doing, or redoing long hours. We want to be able to back you up, but we have to have the documentation. So we encourage you to add these to your supervision agendas. All right. Please remember to register for your field education every term. To graduate, for most students, you'll need 14 credits of field, and for advanced standing, 12 credits of field. Students must ensure that they are meeting their total number of credits and hours. Um, so keep track of that academic course plan so that you can do that. And then if you're placed in a school setting, like elementary, middle school setting, these next 2 slides apply to you. Please keep in mind that most school settings, K through 12 especially, they follow the academic school year, which runs from September through June. Also keep in mind that schools have a lot of breaks and holidays and professional development days and things where you might not be at your placement. So when you're mapping out your hours, make sure you understand those breaks. Make sure you understand when you'll be in field, when you will have breaks, and how you're going to make up those hours when you have breaks. In addition, it is sometimes you're not in your placement over the summer hours. So please, if you are registered for field education over the summer and you are placed at a school setting, you need to confirm that you'll be able to get those hours during those summer months, because otherwise you will not be able to meet them and neither meet those hours nor graduate on time. So, and then lastly, I want to share that oftentimes students will need to, even if you are a spring, summer, if you are a a winter term student, you might need to extend your winter hours through June, which is likely an additional 56 hours, so that you can be at the school from January through June and end with the students in June versus in April. So this is a big challenge. So students who are expected to be out of their field placement in April, they will get a Y grade so that they can finish until June. It is really, really important to project hours and plan ahead. Once again, you want to be sure to calculate the hours, communicate with your field instructor, work very, very closely to establish these things ahead of time before you get halfway through the term. So at the beginning of the term, say, these are the breaks that we have at the university. Let's look at the breaks that you have. Let's look at the time we will be in this placement and we won't. And I would like to adjust my schedule in these way and get those things approved at a time. And then I recommend you follow up with the writing just to make sure that after the school year gets really, really busy, your field instructor hasn't forgotten what they agreed to, and you will be able to have something documented sharing what the expectations are. Each student has the right to an inclusive and accessible education, and we are passionate about fostering academic success for our students, and we want to work with you to help you make that happen. So the University of Michigan recognizes disability as an integral part of our diversity, and we want to encourage students and support students who have disabilities to be able to have a great success and experience in our program. So if you are a student that has disabilities, we have the Office of Services for Students with Disabilities, and they are a great resource to you. And then we are also a great resources to you. So we can communicate with you. We can help you to discuss accommodations that might be needed at the field site. All field sites might not be able to accommodate all accommodations, but this is something that we can work with you to figure out. And we will use excellent communication to figure that out. And we'll negotiate and do our best to support both the student and the community as well, because we want to make sure that your accommodation will be able to allow you to serve the community and not at its best. Um, most online students will not be international students, but I do want to touch on this slide a little bit, just in case a non-online student encounters this presentation. There are some guidelines for international students where you will need to complete CPT. And there's a link here for those students. So please contact our office if you are an international student and get some additional information about CPT, because they're very clear and fairly strict requirements related to CPT that needs to happen prior to the beginning of each term. So please do reach out to our email here, and we will be sure that we can accommodate and support our international students. And then field placement safety. Your placement, your safety is a priority in your placement. Unfortunately, anyone who is awake in our society today, we see that there are many environmental concerns. So we need to be mindful about safety. So we encourage students to think about safety at the beginning of their field placement. Your onboarding. This is a wonderful time for you to say, hey, what are we going to do in case of this? And where do I go for that? It is expected, especially for 515 students. But even for 691 students who are returning, if you missed a safety orientation, inquire about that in your first field supervision meeting. Find out where to go for safety concerns if anything was to go awry, in certain situations where medical needs are required, or if there is an emergency with a client. Who do you call? Whose cell phone number if you're out in the field? There's so many individuals now working remotely, and they're seeing clients out in the community, either in their homes, but also in public settings like libraries and coffee shops and everything. So if an emergency happens in those scenarios, what do you do? And as a student, if your field site doesn't have anything, this is a project that you could work on with them. You can say, well, I can work with you to help develop a safety manual for our internships, for future internships, and you can work with a safety officer at the site in order to do that, and it will be an excellent resume builder. But the onus is on the agency, to be clear, to be sure to communicate safety with the student. So please bring that to the attention of your field instructor if it hasn't been brought to you. And if there are any concerns, please let your field faculty know. We are here to support you, and we can have conversations with your field instructors to be sure that basic information is clearly communicated with our students. So here's some um, examples of questions like what type of unsafe or at-risk situations may arise in this placement. You won't know that up front. So ask what are some of the challenges that has happened in the past or that could potentially happen in the future, how to seek guidance and support in these cases and incidences, and how do you triage client situations, and then where do you debrief after an incident, and if there's any documentation that needs to happen. Debriefing after an incident is going to be very important. We do want to make sure that you are able to process during supervision any type of difficult challenge to help mitigate the effects of secondary trauma, and to also help process and learn. So you can think about if this is to arise in your career, how would you manage it? What do you need to know about it? And what other types of situations have your supervisors encountered in their previous uh, experiences? If you encounter a challenging field, please let us know ASAP. Do not wait. We want to know what's going on. And this is a class, and we want to be sure that this is something we can use as teachable moments. This is all about the experiential learning, and we definitely want to support you in processing these things. I just remember what I wanted to say earlier too about that first slide about this is not um, your your field placement may not align with your career interests. Our objective is to give you transferable skills. So we want you to learn things in field that is transferable to many different settings and not just one clinical setting. Like I want to be a therapist, so I'm only going to do a therapy placement. That's not our objective. We want you to go into different settings and learn various skills that can apply to all social work settings because you're getting a social work degree. In addition, something that I like to share with my students is that what determines what you do after you graduate is not typically necessarily the field placement or your pathway or what you focused on, and certainly not your grades. Very, very rarely do um, field sites and employers ask to see your transcript to see how many A's you got, because the A's really aren't relevant when it comes to your effectiveness in the community. Like I said earlier, you can be an all A student and a lousy social worker. Employers are looking for skills. They want to know how effective you are. And so, what I have experienced, and many of my colleagues have experienced, is that the thing that determines what you do after you graduate is the job market, is who's hiring, and what is the availability for um, students with your skill set. So please keep that in mind, and don't be too bummed if you encounter anything like challenges like I'm not really interested in this. Always maximize the skills and how you might be able to transfer that to multiple settings. So overall, field placements go really well for most students. Like literally 90 to 95% of our students have really great field experiences, but you do have a small percentage of students who might have challenges in field. And sometimes those are the loudest voices. So we might be like, oh God, field is this or field is that. but it really is a minority. Most of our, I mean, we literally have hundreds of students in field education at a given time, and most of them are like having the time of their lives. They're learning a lot. They're getting a lot of exposure to different skills and whatnot. But challenges will occur. I've been alluding to them throughout this entire presentation. Challenges with supervisors, colleagues, and the communities that you serve. So, using effective communication skills, leaning into discomfort is really, really amazing, and the assertive communication as well. So, the thing is, if you have no challenges, you're going to be less prepared for your career in social work. I would rather have challenges in at least some challenges in my field placement than absolutely none, because no one's going to be in a social work job that have absolutely no challenges. And if you don't have any challenges, you haven't really practiced the managing the physiological responses when things are happening that is very uncomfortable around you, and your heart is racing. You might be scared, you might be nervous, you might be anxious, all kinds of things are happening, but you still have to show up. You have to show up to advocate for yourself, your clients, your communities, or get the job done. And how do you do that? You cannot read a book to learn how to do that. That comes with practice. So lean into the challenges and use us. We're not telling you to just go out there and figure it out on your own. We've been dealing with student challenges. Many of us as social workers in our own field placements and careers, as well as thousands of students. We've worked with thousands of students and we've dealt with all sorts of challenges in our field placement. So we encourage you to use us, but keep in mind that switching placements, especially in the online program, it really is not an option except for under extenuating circumstances. And if you are even in those extenuating circumstances, it could have like real serious consequences financially, and it could delay graduation. So we really work to support students in preserving their placements, because this could seriously make a huge difference um, in the success of graduating on time. So these next couple of slides are more about self-reflection. Are you ready for field education? How are people experiencing you? And how are you entering these communities that you are going, that you're going to be serving in? So understanding your anxiety, your nervousness, your uncertainties, these are like normal for all of us. Every one of us, when we're going into new settings, we experience these challenges. And so, what strategies are you using to manage those? How do you maintain a positive presence even when things are kind of challenging for you? Think about how to be resilient and how to recover from tough days in field. And how do you have patience with yourself, your learning, your agency, and your field faculty and your field instructors? Like, we're all social workers, including you. And please treat all of these individuals, your field instructors, your field faculty, as you will want to be treated when you are a social worker, because you're going to be facing very similar challenges as a social worker that we're all facing, and you'll be making similar mistakes, similar um, setbacks and challenges. This is you. This is social work. So be gracious, but still go in and be productive, be effective. So that means it's not that you're just turning a blind eye. You are still using assertive communication. You're still communicating your needs, but doing so with an air of grace that you will want and you will need when you are in a similar position and a client is looking you in the face and they're not liking how you're performing as a social worker. So that's all I'll say about that. Lots to say about it, but I'll continue here. Um, Practicing asking for help from your field instructors, field faculty, and your peers. Again, this is something that is a lifelong skill forever. Like, you will be needing to ask for help for the rest of your career, because things will always evolve in social work. You'll never arrive in social work because humans keep evolving. And as humans evolve, we need to change, we need to stretch. So please continue to know that we are going to evolve and that you will be making mistakes and learning from your mistakes and making new mistakes and learning. And this is going to be the cycle for the rest of your career. So a lot of times our students kind of step into this and they feel so terrible because of imposter syndrome. They don't feel capable. They don't feel confident. This is the learning journey. It's okay. It's okay. Let people know, hey, I'm still figuring this out. Hey, let me go find the answer for you. I'm not sure. Let me consult with my team and I'll get back with you. That is a perfectly fine answer. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to carry it all. And it's impossible to do so. So don't try it. You're going to fail if you try to know it all. And you're going to irritate people because when you present that way and then you don't have the information that you cannot have, it's going to let other people down and it's just not going to be a good look. So please know that. And then my last thought here is thinking about moving from being a receiver of services to a provider of services. What this means is that this is a health profession and we are providers of service. Like we are going out into the community to take care of community's needs. Um, this means that we have to be mindful of how our needs balances with the community's needs, and never should our needs cause harm to the community. So, for example, if you are a person who is not great with deadlines, you have to understand that yeah, your ADD or ADHD might be interfering with your ability to do your job. But if that is hurting someone, like you miss a deadline and a person is not able to secure employment or housing because of you missing a deadline, they cannot get out of prison or they cannot get their kid back from a court system or something like that. It's unacceptable. You are a provider of services. It doesn't mean that you don't still have needs, but you must balance your needs with your role as a service provider. And what that means is if you have a need, you must address that need in a way that does no harm in the community. And so you show up for your clients, and in a situation where you cannot, you have to have cross coverage. You have to communicate ahead of time. You must communicate with your managers, your bosses, so that they can make a plan so that the community that you're serving is not getting the fallout from that. All right. So, final thoughts. This was a lot of information, I know. Um, it's not a formal class, so it's lots of information. We're not meeting regularly, so all of this information is really important for students. We're working with hundreds of students who are in field, so we want everybody to have the information that they need. So remember that Canvas is your friend, not only for field education, especially for field education, but not just field education, for all of your classes. So read your syllabi, review your assignments in Canvas, always check your announcements because vital information is in these areas. Your field faculty, we welcome you to contact us, and we are wanting to use your site visit and every encounter that we have with you, including Field Connections, as an opportunity to support you. All right. Um, yeah, this is the first step in your field education. So welcome. Um, you have finished your pre-field orientation, and I want you to get the best out of this course that you possibly can. And congratulations and go blue.
I have a quick question.
Yep, one sec.
Um,
Do you want to ask that? Hold on one second.
yeah.
I'm just going to pause the video. Okay. So the question was, does this orientation count as field hours? The answer is yes. So communicate that with your field instructor ahead of time and let them know like, hey, I attended a field in orientation. It was this amount of time and I've documented it here in your hours log. The question was if there are trainings and continuing education and opportunities for learning that align with the competencies at the field site, can they count towards hours? The answer is it depends. Anything related to your hours has to be approved by your field instructor. So if there is a training, let's say on dialectical behavior therapy, you can pitch that to them, even if it's a a macro setting. Let your field instructor know, hey, there's a DBT training and it's 8 hours on a Saturday, but this is how I can use this training in this placement. Would you be okay with me doing this project, getting this training and doing this project at my field placement and counting those hours? Your field instructor would then approve yes or no, whether or not you can use the full training or if you can use part of the training or whatever it is. So it depends. Anything related to hours counting, it has to be approved by your field instructor in advance. The question was if students are to adjust their schedule and work maybe through spring break, what would happen if they finish their hours early before the end of the term? That should not happen. That's not the purpose of working through spring break. It's usually designed to catch up on your hours. We allow a lot of flexibility between a student and their field instructor when it comes to hours. So it's important to balance your hours throughout the term. If there is some type of adjustment that needs to be made, this is something that should be spoken or discussed with your field instructor. So let's say you needed to stop a week early before class because maybe you want to do a global activities scholar program. You could communicate that with your field instructor, request that you work through spring break and end a semester a week early, but that would have to, again, that would have to be approved through your field instructor because we've told them that you're going to be there until April 24th. So they're expecting you to be there through April 24th. So we're not expecting that students double up on their hours so that they can end early, but special circumstances can be discussed and negotiated with your field instructors on a case-by-case basis.
Hours.
Great question. The question is, um, the first question was, um, for the assignment, the practice reflection assignment that's due February 23rd, is all nine required or just the one? Just the one is required on February 23rd. The instructions are in Canvas, so be very clear. You're only walking through one practice reflection. And the purpose of that is we want to make sure you know how to do this properly before the end of the term, because we don't want you to get to the end of the term and have done 9 poorly written practice reflections, because we would then need to we will have to send it back to you and get your field instructors to reapprove it, and that can be very time consuming. So um, submit one on February 23rd. We will give you feedback. We'll tell you what needs to change, and then you will submit all 9 at the end of the term. The second question was, do field activities count toward hours, such as doing the practice reflection, writing your educational agreement, practice reflections in general, any type of placement verification forms, any field assignments? The answer to that is it depends. We're okay with you counting those hours, but you must get that approved by your field instructor ahead of time. So some field instructors say, no, that's homework. You need to do your homework outside of field. We are expecting you to be here 2 days a week. Other field instructors will say like, sure, we're slow and, as long as you balance it out and get these things done, that's fine. So you have to get hours approved by your activities, and tasks are approved by your field instructor. All right. I'm so loving our questions today. Some of the best questions. So the question was whether travel to and from and in between sites in your placement count towards your field hours. Excellent question. Travel to and from your field placement will not count. So if your field placement is 30 minutes or 45 minutes, that half hour or hour commute to and from your placement site does not count. However, once you arrive at your field site, if you need to go to various sites, so let's say you are at a nonprofit, but you have to travel to a school to run your programming, that hour or half hour or 15 minutes in between sites that you're traveling, that does count. Or if you are at your field site and you must leave the field site to go to a training at another facility and then come back to that field site, those that time counts, and oftentimes the mileage will count. So you will want to contact your field site to ask them how do they reimburse mileage. So thank you everybody so much for these amazing questions. It's exciting to start the field process, but we do want to make sure that we have all of your questions answered so that the anxiety and the stress of fearing that you've done something wrong is reduced as much as possible, because it's much harder to navigate and negotiate problem solving when you're like, oh goodness, I didn't know, and did I do something wrong? And now you're anxious, you're nervous, and all this stuff. So please use us as a resource. We want to make it easier for you. We're not here to catch you up. We do understand that some people have educational trauma. They've been taken through the ringer and things like that throughout educational settings. That has not been at all my experience at the University of Michigan School of Social Work. And it certainly has not been my experience in field education. So I want to let you know we want to see you win. Like if you fell field, we have a meeting about it. We're like, what happened? How did this go wrong? We are thinking about how do you succeed. And no person will fail field education without accountability. So our team can't just fail you. Like no one really at the school, like no one is looking to see you unsuccessful. We want to see excellent social workers out there. We need you. We need all your expertise, your knowledge, the insight that you have from your community. We need you. So we want to just help you be great, though. We do not need lousy social workers out there. So I will tell you firsthand, I have high standards. I do not want to see you being lazy with this education and then go out and cause harm to somebody, because I am very protective of the communities because many of them are vulnerable populations. And I say not on my watch. But that's good. I want to see you excellent. I want to see you good. And that's what I'm going to do my best to pour everything into you to help you make you your best. So we want to see you win. We want to see you succeed. So please trust us, call us, talk to us about problems. We're colleagues. Like we literally will be colleagues on the other side of this, where we'll be maybe working together. You might become our field instructors, or we might collaborate on other projects. This is the great part about social workers, because we are a whole tribe of colleagues and teammates, and we're always using each other as resources. So, welcome to the team, and excited to have you and excited to see your growth. So, go blue, and good luck with your field education so far this term.
Thank